Hi friends, my name is Natras. In last video, I was talking about what is bean collaboration, what is loose coupling, what is tight coupling. In that video, I talked about we cannot write all the logics of the project using single class. We have to take multiple classes, and these classes should be there in dependency. And such classes which are developed as Spring Bean must be there in what? Collaboration. And this entire process is called bean collaboration. Nothing but keeping classes in dependency. The class that uses other class services is called as what? Target class or main class. The class that acts as a helper class to other class is called what? Helper class or dependent class. If degree of dependency is less between those two classes, then we can say they are what? Loosely coupled classes. If degree of dependency is more between those two classes, then we can say they are what? Tightly coupled classes. I hope you are understanding my point. I already said one point, Flipkart DTDC. Even though DTDC is replaced with what? Blue Dart Courier Service, and I need not to modify single line of Flipkart class, then I can say Flipkart and its dependent courier classes are there in what? Loose coupling. No, in order to change to Blue Dart from DTDC, I have to modify the source code of what? Flipkart. Then I can say Flipkart, which is a target class, and its dependent courier classes like a Blue Dart DTDC are in what mode? Tight coupling mode. I have given some real life examples also. Fan and switch are tightly coupled because we cannot rotate fan without switch. TV and remote are what? Loosely coupled component because there is a possibility of what? Operating TV. Listen carefully, boss. Okay, operating TV with remote or what? Without remote. Other class, we have found total 5 mechanisms, okay, to manage dependency between two classes. To say target and what? Dependent classes. What they are? Make target class having dependent class object. That means you go for composition. Make target class getting dependent class object from what? Factory support. Make target class getting dependent class object from where? J&DA registry. Make target class extending from what? Dependent class. Inheritance concept. Make underlying container or framework to inject what? Dependent class object to target class object. And that means here I am talking about dependency injection. So let's explore one by one. Let's try to understand one by one. So the target is understanding their merits and what? Demerits. Merits means their advantages and what? Disadvantages. So shall we analyze first one now? What is approach number 1? Approach number 1 is, in approach number 1, this is my requirement. Make target class having dependent class object. Indirectly I am going for what? Composition. Composition always talks about as a relation. Let's design one example. Flipkart is target class because it allows online shopping. After selecting the item, they need to be shipped to, they need to be delivered to customer place or not. For that one, courier is required. So DTDC is my courier class, which is a dependent class to Flipkart class. So shall we see how to work with this one now? Public class Flipkart. So here I am taking DTDC, private DTDC. Here I am just saying what? New DTDC of. I created object for DTDC class. Don't worry, I'm going to DTDC class object. Fine. Please see all the videos related to this discussion. There will be multiple videos. I think nearly 3-4 videos will be there on this particular discussion. It is the second video of what? This entire discussion. So before watching this video, please make sure that you have watched part 1 of this video so that you will enjoy the complete end-to-end discussion. This is going to be awesome discussion and your goosebumps will come out at the end of this particular analyzation. So teaching is not knowing subject here. Teaching is all about what? Analyzing and injecting subject to you people. So that's what I personally believe. Okay, so see all the videos and see end to end so that you will be benefited. You will be benefited. So here I am taking one method called string shopping string array items. Yeah, in shopping what they will purchase, items only they purchase. Here some logic is there to calculate the bill amount. So that means payment logic, payment and bill amount, bill generation logics. Some logic is there. Right now those logics are immaterial for us. So here what I am doing, already DTDC class object is created na, DTDC dot deliver method I am calling. So using DTDC delivery will be done or not. So unsafe side to tell to the customer, okay, we are returning some bill details. Right. This is what class? Target class or main class. What class here? Target class oblique main class. Target class or main class. Then, okay, shall we move this one? Here we are having dependent class oblique, what is this? Helper class. So let's try to understand how to deal with this. Public class DTDC. So here I don't have any member variables. I'm directly taking what? Public void deliver. Yeah, you can take return type also if needed. That's not an issue. Here logic of delivery. Some logic of delivery. So it's a just blueprint here, basic idea about. So let's try to understand the limitations and advantages of this. Advantages, pros. Pros means what? Advantages. Flipkart can use multiple courier services. It's not inheritance, it's a composition. So target class can have what? Multiple dependent class objects or not? Definitely target class can have what? Multiple dependent class objects. No second thought in that. Okay na? So what is the advantage? Target class, nothing but Flipkart can have multiple, what is this? Multiple dependent class objects. Okay, I'll explain more clearly. For delivery, they want to take DTDC. But for international delivery, they want to take the support of DHL. So no problem, in Flipkart, I can create object of what? DTDC for domestic delivery, that means local deliveries within India. And they can create object of what? DHL class for what? International deliveries. Super, if at all Flipkart is doing international business. No, they want to even have for payment system they want to use Paytm service. What service here? Paytm service. So happily they can create object of Paytm class in what? Flipkart. So that means what? Not only one service of same category, different services of different services can be injected, can be created, can be used in what? Flipkart class. By just creating objects for what? Multiple dependent classes in Flipkart class. They can enjoy what? Services of what? Multiple dependent classes. Yes or no? That's the advantage. But what is that? What are the disadvantages? Disadvantages. Yeah, disadvantage number one. So Flipkart and DTDC classes are there in tight coupling. How can we say they are there in tight coupling? Come on. Number one, I decided to replace DTDC people with what? Blue dot. I have to modify Flipkart class or not. So tight coupling. Next. Another one is in DTDC class, deliver method name is changed to what? Supply. Again, I have to modify what? Code that is there in Flipkart class or not. Come on. So this also indicates what? Tight coupling. This also indicates what? Tight coupling. So what is the constraint? Constraint means demerits. Merits and demerits I am talking. So what is this? Here target class. What is target class? Flipkart. And dependent class. Dependent class. Where is this? DTDC. DTDC are tightly coupled classes. Tightly coupled classes. How? to replace DTDC with what? Blue Dart. We need to modify code of Flipkart. Next, in DTDC class, if deliver method name is changed to supply, then we need to buy code of what? Code of Flipkart. So both makes these two things as what? Tightly coupled classes or not. Here I designed target and dependent classes having what? Composition principle. In this process, advantage is what? I can inject multiple dependent class objects. Okay. Multiple different dependent class objects. What is the constraint? Tight coupling is the constraint or not. So that's why this is good but not great. Let's try to understand second one. What is second one? Let's get dependent class object from factory. I want to make target class getting what? Dependent class object simply where factory. Simply from where factory. First let us try to understand what is factory. Factory is a class that provides abstraction on object creation process. You ask factory, give me a certain class object, it will give. It never makes you to bother about what? How it is creating that object. Whether it is creating object using 0 param constructor, 1 param constructor, 3 param constructor, what is the initial things it is holding in the object, you are least bothered. You ask for object, it will give object. Or before creating your required class object, that is creating other dependent class objects, nothing you have to bother. You ask factory to give the object, factory will give the object. That's it. Make target class getting what? Dependent class object from factory. So target class, in target class we don't create what? Dependent class object. We use factory and factory gives what? Dependent class object. We ask factory, hey factory give me dependent class object, it will give it. You take real life examples also factory, actually it's a beautiful design pattern. Driver manager dot get connection, their factory design pattern is there. You call driver manager dot get connection method, based on the URL you pass, it will pick up the JDBC driver and establish the connection and gives connection object. Tomorrow if you move to other driver, okay, it will give connection object with respect to other driver. Are you bothered about how it is creating connection object? How it is picking up connection object class name? Or how it is creating object of connection object using 0 parama, 1 parama, 2. You just ask it for object, it will give object. That's it. So factory provides abstraction on what? Object creation process. It simplifies what? Object creation process. You ask for object, it will give object. It never makes you to bother about how object is created, but it will deliver object for you. For example, you take car factory here. You ask for car, you will get the car, but you are least bothered about how they are manufacturing car. You take biscuit factory. You ask for biscuit, they will give biscuit, but then you are least bothered about how they are preparing biscuit. What is the recipe of what biscuits? Not required. So factories provides what? Abstraction on object creation process, and they create and return object. They simplify object creation process. If you want to create object for any class, you should know entire mechanism of object creation. In that process, if any dependent objects as required to create, you create it and you assign to what? Main object. Then think about creating what? Main object, having that dependent object. But if you ask factory, factory will take care of everything. So factory is a class, okay, that provides abstraction on what? Object creation process. It creates and returns what? A required class object by simplifying object creation process, by hiding what? Complexity that is involved in object creation process. What is this approach to says? This approach to says you don't create what? Dependent class object in target class. That means you don't create DTDC class object in what? Target class, Flipkart class. You ask factory, okay, factory will give. That means we have to keep one DTDC factory class ready. Then only we can ask DTDC factory, hey, DTDC factory give your one object of DTDC, then it will give. So shall we go for that one first? First of all, here public class DTDC, regular dependent class. We are having what? The regular dependent class. Public void deliver. What is this class ultimately? Dependent class. What is this class? Dependent class. So tell me, what is the target class we are having? Here is the target class. Okay, before the target class, I will talk factory class. It's a design pattern here. Factory is a design pattern. Design patterns are what? Best practices. So public class DTDC factory. Public class DTDC factory. Now tell me, what is this? Public static DTDC get instance. Get instance. Return new DTDC of. Return what? New DTDC of. So I have a DTDC factory that is creating what? DTDC class object. That's it. I have a DTDC factory that is simply creating what? DTDC class object. See? That means now my Flipkart class seriously need not to create DTDC class object using new operator. So if it is just calling what? Get instance method of what? DTDC factory, it will take care of object creation. Generally, the method that creates object of any class in factory class will be taken as what? Get instance. Instance means object, na? So when that method is called, instance will come. Instance means object will come. That's why it will be taken as what? Get instance. See? Anyone who calls DTDC factory dot get instance, DTDC class object will come. How can you call get instance method on the class name? Hey, it is a static method. Not compulsory method should be static, but most of the time we'll take what? Get instance method as static method. Why? Because people are not interested in what? DTDC factory class object. They are interested in what? Resultant object given by DTDC factory. What is that? DTDC class object. Come on here. So they don't want to create factory class object in order to get DTDC class object. So how they can call method to get DTDC class object without creating object of DTDC factory? Only the way is taking method as what? Static method. Because static methods are what? Instance independent method. They can be called without what? Object. They can be called directly on the class name. So shall we get into what? Target class here. Here, what is the target class we are having? Public class Flipkart. Public class Flipkart. Here I am taking a point. What is the point? Private DTDC. DTDC is equal DTDC factory dot DTDC factory dot get instance. I simply call method like this. So in this process, DTDC class object is assigned to this reference variable or not. So what about this shopping method? This shopping method remains as it is or not? This shopping method is going to be ditto. So that's why I'll copy paste this shopping method as it is. Copy paste. Here is what? End of it. So only the difference between previous one and this one is what? Here I manually created. Here I manually created what? DTDC class object. Here I am asking factory to give the object. One and the same. Fine. So here what I do? I have to now explain pros and cons or not. Same as approach one. Because it is also designed based on what? Based on what? Composition. Composition means what? Not one dependent class object. We can create objects of multiple dependent classes. That means my Flipkart class can enjoy services of DTDC, DHEL, Paytm, n number of things. Only the thing is, in approach 1 we created those objects manually. In approach 2 we have to get through factories. Okay. So what about the constraints, cons? Constraints are same as approach 1. Same as what? Approach 1. Again tight coupling. Again what? Tight coupling. Observe. I decided to blue dot instead of what? DTDs. I have to modify the code or not. And moreover, I have to take the support of blue dot factory to get the blue dot object. I have to take the support of what? Blue dot factory to get the blue dot object. Okay, next. Deliver method name is changed to supply where in DTDC class, and how to do modification where in the Flipkart. That means tight coupling is still there or not there. So approach number 1, tight coupling. Approach number 2, tight coupling. And moreover here what you have to work with what factories. So you have to work with what factories. So here also tight coupling is there or not there. So what is the brand on this? Tight coupling. Approach 1, tight coupling. Shows what? Tight coupling. Shows what? Tight coupling. And do you think tight coupling problem is solved? Only one problem is solved. What is that? Instead of manually creating dependent class object in target class, we can get through factory. So process is simplified, but basic problem is there as usually. Basic problem is there what? As usually. So here also what it says? Tight coupling. So what is the advantage compared to first approach? The only advantage compared to approach is because of factory, abstraction will come on object creation process. So same as approach 1 plus what is the advantage we are having? Factory class will simplify the process of object creation. Factory class will simplify the process of object creation. That's one extra advantage, but limitations are still as usually or not. See, advantages are increasing, but basic problem is still there as it is. So should we entertain this one? We should not entertain this one. So that's why both are there for managing dependency, but both are showing what? Tight coupling only, na? So first approach showing tight coupling, second approach also showing tight coupling. So like this, I will explain all the 3 approaches, and I will make why 5th approach is best and what are the improvisation we have to do on 5th approach to make it better code and more loosely coupled code. So that is what I am going to target in this entire discussion. So maybe another 2 videos will come to one conclusion. I request all viewers to watch all the 5 videos or multiple videos, okay? So where all the discussions are covered end to end. So I thank you. I hope you benefited with this video. So if you have any queries on this discussion, you can send to me natraj@gmail.com. Happy coding and keep smiling. Thank you.